Tonight, the Detroit Lions and the Minnesota Vikings are going to do battle and play for all the marbles. They're going to be playing for a lot tonight, but I have a funny feeling that this game is not going to be nearly as close as some people are trying to make it out to be. We're going to talk about it, so stay tuned.
What are we? What makes us what we are and what we're going to be? It's grit. It's what we started with last year, guys. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and three toes. I will beat your ass.
Can definitely compete with the big dogs.
10-5 end zone touchdown Detroit Lions.
You guys are unbelievable, man. I'm telling you.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Detroit Lions friends, fans, and family members. Welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike. And as always, we're diving on in. My friends, obviously we know that tonight the Lions are going to play the Minnesota Vikings in a winner-takes-all kind of game. This game, whoever wins the game, they're going to win the division title. They're going to have the number one overall seed, and they are most likely going to have the best shot, the best path, the best opportunity to not only get to, but to win the Super Bowl. Now, I know that Minnesota Vikings fans are going to try and say that their team's going to win, that their team's this, their team's that, and you know what? That's fine, great, Dan, and glorious for them. But I'm going to tell you this right now. Every Vikings fan, I'm going to say to you right now, as much as I respect your all accomplishments this year, you're all speaking out your ass. If you honestly think that you're going to come into Ford Field in a game that is by far and large the regular season Super Bowl, a game that literally has so much riding on it, and you think you're going to come into Detroit, you're going to show the Lions up after we went to your place and we beat you, where our offense is better than that game that we played against you, our defense is getting healthy again, you are sadly mistaken. And I don't give a damn how much money your team sunk into buying tickets so that way you could come out and watch us at freaking Ford Field. 1,900 tickets ain't going to solve a damn thing. You're going to be outnumbered by about 64,000 to 2,000. You're still going to get your asses whooped. That's just the numbers game. But let's actually talk about the game itself in terms of who we're actually going to be watching, which is the Lions and the Vikings. Like I do with every episode that's of a similar nature like this, we're going to talk about the Lions offense versus the Vikings defense, and we're going to go vice versa. So without further ado, let's take a look at this. When you take a look at the Lions offense this year, I'm going to put the stats up on the screen. You can say whatever you want about how stats don't tell the whole story. Stats in this tell the whole story. There's no way around it. Every single freaking statistical category, the Lions are top 10. There's nothing outside of top 10. Not a damn single statistical category. In fact, if you want to take it even a step further, out of all the statistical categories that I have, only 5 of them are outside of top 5. This is by far the best offense in football. There's no way around it. We have the best quarterback. We have the best wide receiver duo. We have the best running back duo. We have the best offensive line. That's just the way it is. Sorry if you don't like to hear that, but the truth is in the pudding. We have the number 1 scoring offense. We have the number 1 pass completion offense. We have the number 2 passing rating offense. We have the best offense. There's no two ways around it. Sorry if you don't want to hear it. The facts be the facts, and I don't give a damn about your feelings. It's the cold, hard truth. So, Lions offense. Vikings defense. I'll give the Vikings their due here. Take a look at their stats as I put them up on the screen. It's a very, very, very good defense. Brian Flores, has done an excellent job with this Vikings defense. It's very, very good. It's very talented. It has the ability to do a lot of things to be disruptive for opposing offenses. But let's understand something here. This is the same freaking Brian Flores defense that we went up against in Week 7 earlier this year, and we put 31 points on them. So again, excuse me if I'm not at all too concerned about the fact that what I'm seeing from the statistics here for Brian Flores' defense is not at all giving me the, momentary use of saying, oh, well, you know what, there's something to be worried about here. We already went to Minnesota and beat that defense. I see no reason for that to change when you guys come to Detroit. So, Lions offense, best in the NFL. Vikings defense, absolutely good, has a lot of good things about it, but I'm not sweating it because we've already beaten this defense. Now, what about the flip side of this coin? What about Lions defense versus the Vikings offense? I'm going to say this right now. Everybody can say what they want about the Lions defense, about how, you know what? They have the second to worst passing defense in terms of yards given up. You can say what you want about it being injured. You can say all of this happy nonsense that you want. But let's take a look at the actual analytics here. This Lions defense is top 10 in DVOA, whether it's run defense, pass defense, or defense overall. It is top 10 in PFF analytics in all three of those said categories. This is a defense that gets after the quarterback in terms of being able to apply pressure, in terms of being able to hurry the quarterback, and being able to apply pressure through blitzing. This is a defense that is top 10 in not allowing points being scored on them. So you can talk about the fact that, you know what, we have all these injuries. You can talk about the fact that, you know what, we have this passing defense that has a sieve for yards. But yet that same passing defense has only allowed 18 passing touchdowns, which is tied for fourth best in the NFL. We have the fourth best passer rating allowed. And on top of that, we are tied for the third most amount of pass interceptions on defense. I don't think I'm too worried about Sam Darnold being able to tear our defense apart where it actually is going to matter, which is getting touchdowns and making sure he doesn't get intercepted. So, that's the Lions defense. What about the Vikings offense? The Vikings offense, I'm going to say this right now, it's a pretty good offense, but it's nowhere even in the same galaxy, same ballpark as the Lions offense. You might as well be talking freaking Mount St. Helens versus freaking the Appalachian Mountains. It's not even the same thing. Just because they have mountain in the word does not mean, or mountain in description does not mean that they are two types of mountains that are of a similar nature. It's completely different. The Lions offense is pretty much top 10, top 5 across the entirety of the board. That is not the case for the Vikings offense. The Vikings offense definitely has weaknesses. It definitely has holes. That's not to say it's a bad offense. It is a very good offense. But this is an offense that has the capability of also stalling at the worst possible times. And the reason I can say that is because, number one, the rushing offense for the Vikings is not that good. And on top of that, let's also take a look at it from this perspective. Their rushing average, not good. Their rushing touchdowns, almost near the bottom. So this is an offense that is entirely dependent on passing the ball. That's not the case for the Lions offense. We are very, very balanced. The Vikings are very imbalanced. So, having gone through the explanation, showing the statistics on both offense and defense for both ball clubs, this is why I say what I say about the Lions in terms of them being tempered, the Lions being put through the fire, being baptized by fire, being put through all these constant trials where they are set to be ready to go against a game or go into a game against an opponent like the Vikings here. We have been put through the ringer more times this year than I care to even remember. We've had so many injuries, and we've still overcome. We have had to deal against some really good opponents, and we've still beaten most of them. So, again, this is a Lions team that knows exactly what it has to do to win against good opponents because we've done it time and again. So, when we're talking about the Lions' keys to success, when we're talking about what the Lions have to do to win this very crucial, very imperative, very important game, the first thing that we have to do, obviously, is limit the Vikings' passing success. Again, the Vikings are a pretty much pass first, run almost never kind of offense. And the fact that Aaron Jones, even though he's been cleared to play, he's probably not 100%. He's still probably dealing with some lingering effects of his injury that he got from last week. But the point of the matter is that that's where we know the Vikings are going to try to attack us, is through the air. When you've got Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, TJ Hawkinson, obviously that's where you're going to try and attack the Lions. But the problem is that the Lions also know this. The Lions also are expecting this. And it doesn't really do the Vikings a whole lot of good to attack where we already know they're going to go, especially when you're not going to take advantage of trying to mix in the run game there. And that's been one of the biggest drawbacks to the Vikings offense this year. They have nowhere found the balance that is necessary to be a successful postseason team in terms of balancing the running attack with the passing attack. So, in my honest opinion, all the Lions have to do is find a way to maintain and limit the Vikings' passing success, which, when you consider the fact that we're getting back Alex Anzalone, Terrion Arnold is getting better every single week, and he's now become a very reliable cornerback. Kirby Joseph is a turnover machine. Brian Branch still has a massive impact, not only both figuratively but literally, on opposing offensive playmakers. So for me, it's like, you know what? If we can find a way to keep the Vikings passing attack, not necessarily stymie it or stop it, but we can bottle it up, we can limit it, that's going to be a huge bonus in our favor. Now, playing off of that note, the second thing the Lions have got to do is they absolutely must continue to get takeaways. The Vikings, we already know, they're going to score their points. There's no way around this, folks. The Lions are not going to shut out the Vikings. I know that one for a fact. So the Vikings are going to have some success against us. Everyone should expect it. But despite this, the Lions defense can allow those points to be scored. They can allow that success to happen to a certain degree so long as they're getting turnovers, so long as they're getting takeaways on defense. Again, you go back to that 49ers game we just played. You go back to any other game where it's been quote-unquote close against a quality opponent, whether or not they're dealing with injuries or not, still a quality opponent. The best way that the Lions have been able to find victory, been able to find sustainable success on defense is by getting turnovers, by manifesting takeaways, whether it's fumbles or interceptions, mostly interceptions. But the whole point of the matter is that as long as the Lions get turnovers, our defense is going to be in a good spot. Let's just call for what it is, folks. The Lions have 24 turnovers on the season this year. That's crazy. We're playing in a 17-game season now, and the Lions have 24 turnovers, and we've only played 16 games. When you consider the sheer amount of turnovers that the Lions have been able to garner, and the fact that the Lions have a top 10 limiting scoring defense, along with a multitude of other categories that are contingent upon that, whether it's on third down, fourth down, scoring drive percentage, or red zone percentage, the Lions are in an absolutely stupendous position for their defense to be in that bend but don't break mindset. Hey, you know what? We know the Vikings are going to get theirs on us. We know they're going to make plays on us. But so long as we can find at least a turnover here or there, whether it's one, whether it's two, we will be able to pull out the victory. Which, let me tell you something. For an offense, when all it takes is potentially one mistake to potentially screw you over or screw you out of a victory, that is a very hard thing to not let have happen to you. So there's that. Now, those are what I call your overall keys to success. But now we have the more specific ones where we have offense and we have defense. Let's take a look at the offensive game plan, what they need to focus on. What the Lions need to focus on, what they absolutely need, is for Jahmyr Gibbs to have another big day. He has to continue on this trend that he's had the last 2 weeks and have yet another fantastic game against the Vikings. Because, one, not only has Gibbs had a fantastic outing the last 2 weeks that he's played, the last time he played against the Vikings in Week 7, he was absolutely stupendous. He had 15 rushes for 116 yards, 7.7 an average a rush, with 2 rushing touchdowns, also had 4 catches for 44 yards for 11 an average a catch. the guy is very difficult to find a way to stop, whether it's on the ground or whether it's through the air. Ensuring that Jahmyr Gibbs is used early and often in this game, I believe is going to have a huge capability of the Vikings defense to make mistakes. Because the more weapons they have to try and cover that are speed demons, that are hard to get a hold of, it's going to stress them out. And I don't care how good of a game plan you have, the more you stress a defense, the more likely it's going to break. So, that's one thing. But not only is it important and it's imperative that Gibbs has a great game, not only in the sense of the game itself, it's also important because of the fact that it is going to allow our offense to even further expand, find more ways to be successful, and that's going to be through the passing attack. Again, you go back to the Week 7 matchup against the Vikings. Goff in that game was about as close to perfect as you're going to possibly find ever again in the NFL, because the chances that we're going to see another game like what Goff did against the Seattle Seahawks is almost slim to none. But what Goff did against the Vikings in Week 7, while it is difficult, it's definitely a hell of a lot more attainable. Goff was 22 of 25 for 88% completion rate. 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 140 passer rating with an 86.8 QBR. Okay. That is important to note because of the fact that we know the Lions' offense is predicated upon 2 main things. Run the ball to make sure that you get defenses to be honest, number 1. But also, number 2, run the ball to set up the play action passing. And why is that important? I've said it before, I'll say it again. Jared Goff is the play action king of the NFL, and the stats back it up. Take a look at his 2024 play action stats. Goff is number 2 in the NFL in terms of play action percentage. He is number 1 in the NFL in terms of yards gained off of play action. Number 3 in passing average per throw in play action. Number 2 in passing touchdowns off of play action. And number 3 in passer rating off of play action. And to add further insult to injury, Jared Goff is the number 1 quarterback in the NFL in terms of the amount of times he drops back and it's a play action design play. Almost 40%. That all comes and stems from the fact that the Lions are so successful running the ball, which is one of the things that they're going to want to ensure happens again. Because when the running game is successful, the play action game is deadly. Now, that's all fine when you talk about how the Lions have their running attack, they have their passing attack, but when you factor in that it's not just going to be Gibbs and Goff, you're going to have Jameson Williams, you're going to have Amon-Ra St. Brown, you're going to have Tim Patrick, you're going to have Sam Laporta, and you factor all of that in together into this massive melting pot. I'm telling you this right now. It's going to stress out the freaking defense of the Vikings, because you go back to that game against the Vikings, pretty much Jameson Williams and Sam Laporta were no-shows in that game. It was pretty much the Goff, St. Brown, and Gibbs show. That was pretty much what it was. That's not going to be the case this time. I can guarantee you that. And any Vikings fan that thinks that, oh, well, we got them covered, right, you're going to somehow come up with the answer to cover our entire offense when the rest of the NFL has not yet figured that out. I'm sorry, but Brian Flores is a good defensive coordinator, but he ain't that good. So, that's the offensive game plan. What about the defensive game plan keys to success? Okay, kind of piggybacking off of what I've already said here, but 1, we've got to keep the damage that Jefferson does to us limited as much as possible. We've got to find a way to limit him. We obviously can't stop him. We're not going to be able to totally neutralize him. But trying to limit the damage that he will do, that is our number 1 priority. Whether it's being aggressive on him, whether it's double covering him, whether it's making sure there's safety help over top at all times, I don't care. The more you can limit Jefferson's success, the more it's going to force Darnold to have to put the ball into the hands of receivers and weapons that he's not normally used to doing. And it's going to mean he's going to make bad decisions. But By pressuring Darnold as well, while you're also doing this, it's also going to make Darnold uncomfortable in the pocket, and it's going to force him to either have to throw the ball away and lose a down or take a sack and lose a down. So not only does the Lions defense, and what I mean by that, the defensive backs have to have a great day or a good day in limiting, freaking Justin Jefferson, Zadarius Smith needs to have a good game in terms of being able to create pressure off of the edge and making sure that he not only has opportunities for himself to make sacks, but also presents opportunities for Levi, whether it's also for Josh Pascal and for others. So that's one defensive game plan key. The other thing that the Lions have got to do on defense is I cannot express this more so than right now. No dumb penalties. And I am specifically talking about freaking Brian Branch. In that last game against the 49ers, he committed 2 very dumb penalties that could have very well come back to bite us in the ass. And don't get me wrong, I love Brian Branch. He is an all-pro talent safety. The guy knows how to play the position better than I would say probably better than 90% of the league. He's absolutely a wonderful product and awesome football player. But he has made some really boneheaded decisions over the course of this year, which has resulted in penalties, and it has allowed potential options for other teams to have, whether it's in, terms of getting points, or allows them to figure out, okay, Brian Branch is vulnerable. He's easy to get under his skin. Neither of those are good things for the Lions to have as possible problems. So again, do not commit dumb penalties, especially ones where it's like, listen, this is something that all you have to do is clearly decide to walk away, don't get involved, let the refs handle it. That is the very definition of the types of freaking problems that Branch has had this year in terms of not letting things go. And this is the one game where you absolutely must make sure you are in full control of yourself and not let yourself become a reason for the refs to throw a penalty flag. So, there's that. Which, when I take a look at all the evidence, when I consider all the facts, I consider all the avenues, I understand what is going on. To me, I believe that the Lions not only can win the game, but I think they are going to have a good shot to win the game convincingly. Again, I'm not going to guarantee a win. I can't do that because, one, I don't have the gift of foresight, nor am I omnipotent like the good Lord above. But I think that the Lions are in the best possible position in terms of they're at home, they're going to have the home crowd, they're going to be getting Alex Anzalone back, they're going to be in a position to where everything's going to start focusing and funneling into them being ready for the playoffs. So for me, I fully expect that the Lions are going to have a good shot to win against the Vikings. I believe they will have a chance to sweep the Vikings, sweep the NFC North, and get the victory. Now, if you want to ask what I think the score is going to be, pardon me, I fully expect this to be another high-scoring affair. So I'm going to say Lions 40, Vikings 31. But having said that, I'm going to end this episode and say thank you all for watching another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, highly encourage y'all to watch the next episode. Also encourage y'all to do one of these 3 things: like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. If by chance you subscribed in the past and forgot to do so at the time, I want to highly encourage y'all, please make sure you hit that bell notification icon so that you guys never miss any more content that I push out. Also want to encourage y'all, please, to share this content with your Lions friends and family members. Share it here on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. Share anywhere and everywhere you possibly can. And with that, I hope you all got something out of the content and that you enjoyed it. Whether it's your first time watching me or your upteenth time watching me, I hope that was something I was able to provide for you. I also hope you all got something in your life that makes you happy, makes you smile. God bless, my friends, and until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.